Our next speaker is one of the Philippines' pioneering serial digital entrepreneurs. He currently is an active leading business technology coach to the Philippines' leading startup CEOs. He started his career in IT way back in 1982 when he got a job in Apple Computers as product support engineer for the Lisa computer, the predecessor to the Macintosh. In 1986, he worked as a programmer at Microsoft on version 1.0 of Excel for Windows in Redmond. He moved back to the Philippines in 1991 to start Match Data Systems, which he sold to Great Plains Software in 1999 and then to Microsoft in 2003. Joey was the president of the Philippine Software Industry Association in 2013 and 2014 and now serves as the director or coach for several companies and foundations such as SERVIO Technologies, Xurpas, Katayan, Aide, Coders Guild, Code Scholarship Fund, and the Mijares-Gurango Craniofacial Foundation. Since 2011, Joey has been helping founders and entrepreneurs grow their businesses as a business technology coach. You can check on his website, joeygurango.com. Joey's advocacy is to grow our software industry to become a major contributor to nation building and to turn the Philippines into a nation of programmers. Our next speaker, Joey Gurango. So thank you very much, Sir Joey, for being one of the speakers today. Can you tell us about your insights on COVID-19 and how it can possibly affect the businesses now?
Well, honestly, I mean, in terms of impact, it's still too early to tell. I have businesses also, and we are also trying to figure out, you know, how to cope and what to do with it. So I don't think I'm in a position to actually prognosticate on another impact on business. But what is clear, because of one of the main characteristics of this particular emergency situation, is the removing our ability to physically work with people. That means that if you can't work with them physically, what's the only other option? Digitally, right? The only other option to physical collaboration is digital collaboration. And although this particular phenomenon of digital collaboration has been with us since the early 2000s, with the rise of the BPO, offshore outsourcing, that's what enabled all of that to happen. It's amazing how many businesses today are still unable to function in the digital world. Now, I'm not just talking about those businesses na talagang physical, like a restaurant is physical, right? You can even say that a movie house is physical. But I think what this underscores is, if today you are 100% physical, then wala kang alternative today. But those physical businesses that have a digital alternative, for example, a restaurant has a delivery app, a takeout application online, or the movie can actually stream the movie to your home rather than going to the theater, right? If you do not have that, you're out of business. But because they have that, you're able to stay in business. Now, imagine, fast forward 5 years from now, partially because of the impact of this current emergency situation, this woke a lot of people up. They've heard about this digital transformation thing. They've heard about being able to do work online, but a large portion of our workforce and a large portion of our business is still not there. They're not ready. They don't have the systems in place. Even for a company, the companies that I'm involved with, these are all digital companies. But I would have to say, the current emergency situation has exposed a lot of gaps, a lot of things that they said, nga pala no, yun, hindi pa natin na-digitize yun. You know, one business that I'm involved with, for example, still had to send the checks to me to sign.
Okay.
And, you know, I said, teka muna, ganun ba talaga? Eh kung kunyari, nagkasakit ako,
Mm.
and absolutely no contact with the outside world, ano mangyayari? Wala kayong payroll.
Mm.
Ako lang pwede kung meron pala yan eh. Now, if you contrast that with some businesses I'm involved with in Singapore and Australia, I'm able to do all that on the computer. I can basically sign checks or approve transactions all online. I don't have to go there or them send me something to sign. So even with us, with most of my businesses that I thought was pretty digital, meron pa yung lumalabas na, you know, you could blame the banks in the Philippines for that. They don't make it easy naman to do all of that online. But you have to say that we were not aggressive enough about doing that. So what I'm trying to say is that this emergency situation has exposed the weaknesses of companies that do not have any digital capability. Those who do not have any digital capability, they will go out of business. If not during this emergency, in 5 years. And this is everybody. Everybody. If you might think, oh, I'm a law firm, right? This is not gonna, or even an accounting firm. Well, all you have to do is ask yourself, if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant in that firm, look back last 30 days. How many things did you do that you required you to be physically in front of somebody? So those are the things that have to go away. Otherwise, hindi ka digital.
You already mentioned, sir, about digital transformation. How can, or do you have any steps on for businesses to adopt digital transformation, or is it a process that they need to
Yes,
go through?
it's a process. That's the focus of the business technology coaching that I do with business owners and managers is exactly that. You know, what is the process by which you digitize, you become a digital business? What is the process? It's not an overnight thing. It's not a buy a solution kind of thing. Oh, I'm going to buy that, and then we're done. Okay, it's a process. Depending on the how Jurassic your business is, it could take a long time or maybe not so long time. And what people don't realize is a business becoming digital is less about technology and more about culture.
Oh, okay. That's
You
something.
cannot you cannot become a digital business if you don't first create or transform your culture into a digital culture. That's why I'm saying, I tell my friends who own businesses, what is the average age of your employees? If the average age of your employees is over 30, you're going to have a more difficult time. Okay? If under 30, mas madali. Mas madali. And of course, every year that number kind of goes up. You know, so maybe in 5 years, I could say average age of 40 or below. Okay? But I still run into a lot of 40-year-olds that don't have the right mindset. So that the culture has to change, because if they don't, then they're going to find ways to circumvent what you're trying to do. As human beings, we like to stay within our comfort zone. This is the way we've always done it. It has worked for us. Why don't we just keep doing it that way? Komportable ako dito eh. That's what's going on in people's heads. But they don't realize that in the long run, it's going to make their lives more productive. And the truth is, digital transformation, the first beneficiaries, the most obvious beneficiaries of digital transformation is not the employees, it's management, are the initial beneficiaries. The long-term beneficiaries are the employees. The problem with digital transformation, though, is that the early casualties are
Oh,
employees,
yes, correct.
right? From the point of the transition when they have to do two jobs, where they have to work overtime to catch up because they're doing, more work during the transition,
Mhm.
casualty na sila. To the later point when management goes, oh, na-digitize natin to isang prosesong ito. Dati, 6 yung tao natin dyan. Ngayon, maski na 2 lang, kaya na.
Oh, yeah.
So magtatanggal tayo ngayon.
Mm.
So next casualty, employee again, right? And they've seen this. Employees have seen this in other businesses. So when you talk to an employee about digital transformation, it is not always received positively.
Mhm.
When you talk to an owner or a manager, it's beneficial to them. So open sila. And that's why I say digital transformation is more about doing something about culture first
Mhm.
and technology later. So it's less about technology and more about culture.
Sir, about your digital transformation strategy that you teach the founders, are you just focused on the founders or you focused on the management level?
The management, yeah.
Mhm.
It has to be the management team because they're the ones that are going to drive the transformation. So part of, look at the curriculum or the process. Within that process, you always start with the founder or the owner, but within that process, there will be what I call interventions. And those interventions will have to involve management, and the interventions may also have to involve, eventually will have to involve employees.
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily the one who does those interventions. There are other people, probably even more skilled than I am in those interventions. But I'm the one that will say, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then those other highly skilled people can do those. So yeah, it's not, digital transformation is not just coaching the owner. The management team and the employees at some point need to be educated as well.
In terms of timelines, sir, adaptation. So, example, I decided to undergo my company to a digital transformation process. How long would it take, or is it?
Uh, yeah, it depends on the existing culture of the business and of course the size
Mm.
of the business. The more employees that you have, the more processes that you have, the more customers that you have.
Mhm.
So the more of those stakeholders involved, the longer it takes. The more Jurassic your culture is,
Mm.
the longer it takes. So I can't give you an exact timeline, but I would say that from the word go, and if you have a fairly small and a fairly modern um, workforce, it could happen in like less than a year.
Mm.
And remember that's real time. That's not you're doing something every day to get there. It could be doing something for like a week, implementing that, and then watching it happen, and then another one several months later. So it's not like you've got this project where every day something's happening. It's more of a real time duration when you can say our objectives for digital transformation have been reached, and
Mm.
now we're sort of in a maintenance and what they call iterate mode, meaning nagawa natin yung kailangan natin gawin, and but there will still be other things we need to do in the future, but we
Mhm.
do not know what they are right now.
Mm.
It's a never-ending process.
So, sir, example, there are a lot of entrepreneurs right now who are affected by COVID-19 outbreak. What and most of them are on downtime. Restaurants are closed, massage parlors are closed, and they don't have any option but uh, to stay at home and be with their families. What do you think would be the best course of action right now that they need to do while they're at homes, or
Educate yourself. What an excuse! What a great excuse to spend time learning stuff. And all the learning materials, all the educational materials is available, most of it for free online. Like if you mentioned restaurant, right? So good example. What a lot of restaurants are finding out right now. I'm not talking about the big fast food chains. Okay, I'm not talking about the big chains, but you know, if you go outside of the malls, there are many family-owned, standalone
businesses.
food businesses, restaurants, roadside stands, whatever. Okay, if you take a look at those guys, most of them don't have their own food delivery strategy.
Mhm.
Okay, so they figured, oh, meron naman tayo ano eh, grab food eh. Yun na lang, di ba?
Mm.
What they don't realize is that if Grab Food's only strategy, they are not reaching the entire market.
True.
That only reaches a certain segment of the market. That only reaches a segment that uses Grab Foods,
Mhm.
right? So they have concluded na tapos na yon, but hindi pa tapos yun. There are many other options they should be looking at that would expand their market reach, number one, that would cost their customers less, number two. So by simply delegating that to Grab Foods, you're not actually solving that problem. If you want to be a truly digital restaurant, there are many other things that you have to do to have a good delivery strategy. And that's not it. That's not it. Meron pang iba. That's just a good example of, and you can learn, by the way, so you can learn about that. Do some research, find out what other um, businesses, what systems they're using as a food business, learn from them. This is a good time because sarado yung restaurant niya.
Mm. Sir, mahal kasi magpa-digital eh. So, gawa ng website, mahal. Gawa ng app, mahal. Anong reply niyo doon, sir?
Hindi
Okay.
siya mahal. Matrabaho lang. So it's not a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of capital. Most of the digital tools are free. It's a lack of effort.
Mhm.
If you don't have the knowledge, there are people who can help. You can just teach yourself. Of course, the bigger the business, the less likely that you'll want to do it yourself. Kasi marami kang ibang kailangan gawin. But you have to educate yourself. So I'll be the first to say, hindi mahal. Yes, yung solution ng iba, mahal talaga. But why do you have to do that? I'll give you a very simple example. Okay, um, in one of my businesses, we sell accounting software, which is
Mhm.
probably one of the first things you should digitize in your business. If you're still using an abacus or or or
Yeah.
or paper and pencil, or you're using even Excel. Excel is not an accounting tool. Okay, it's not a good accounting tool. It's time maybe to get an accounting software. And people say, mahal yun eh. Talaga? Mahal yun? Well, siguro kung bumili ka ng SAP, mahal yun. But you know, there's so many very inexpensive accounting systems. And they are not factoring in the cost. What it's costing them to do it now. If you look at the cost of what it's costing you to do it now, and you compare to the cost of that technology, mas mahal yung ginagawa niyo. I
Mhm.
won't go into all the calculations, but mas mahal ang ginagawa niyo. So no, cost is not, if you're a big business, then yes. But don't forget, if you're a big business, the cost of doing things manually right now, you have to compare that cost, malaki rin yun.
Mhm.
If it's costing you 10 pesos per transaction, for example, for a customer, yes, it might not seem like a lot if you're only serving 10 customers a day. But if you're serving 1,000 customers a day, that's a lot of money,
That's true.
which definitely can afford can be used to digitize that particular process and definitely cost less than 10,000 a day.
Wow. Sir, last tip or advice sa lahat ng mga entrepreneurs who are currently listening to this podcast show.
Last advice. uh, First, I'll give you two advice. First advice is not everybody was meant to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. Harsh
So
truth.
if you are saying I want to be an entrepreneur because you wanna be, meaning gusto ko maging parang siya, idol ko siya, gusto ko maging ganon, or your parents are telling you, or your peer groups telling you, or ganyan ako yayaman, the reason you're doing it is because gusto kong yumaman. Wrong reason, right? Not everybody was meant to be an entrepreneur. There are certain characteristics that an entrepreneur must possess, and if you don't possess those, then you weren't meant to be an entrepreneur. So that's my first advice. Not everyone was meant to be an entrepreneur. So just as I tell people, the first thing that you have to know before you do anything is that something that you're meant to do? Right?
Mhm.
So number one, not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Number two, once you've accepted the fact that once you've accepted the fact that not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur, my second advice to you is find out if you are meant to be an entrepreneur. Again, there are assessments you can take, there are people you can talk to that can tell you, bagay ka ba maging entrepreneur? Just like somebody saying, gusto ko maging singer, kagaya ni Lea Salonga. Eh kung sintonado ka, wag ka na mangarap, wag ka na mag-ambisyon. You don't have what it takes. So yun, that's my two advice. One, not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Two, once you accept number one, find out if you are meant to be an entrepreneur.
Thank you very much, Coach Joey. We had a very insightful session today, and we're looking forward to another interview with you in the future. Thanks salamat, sir. Thank you very much.